Hey guys, so today we are going to be revisiting the Apres Gel X nail system. This is actually turned into one of my most used kits, so I wanted to do a more in-depth tutorial and review on it since I have a lot more experience this time. My last review was about 10 months ago. So now I'm going to do a more in-depth tutorial and I will talk about my thoughts and feelings as we go. When I first bought this kit, you got a gel in a pot instead of one in a bottle like you get now. I think this is a super good change. I think it would make it 10 times easier to use than it already is. And they have come out with a different style of tips to fit some people's nails better. So the tips that I'm going to use are the long sculpted coffin shape. I prefer the sculpted ones just because they look a lot thinner. And then I am going to use this bit to file down the inside to make the tip fit better and stick better to my nail. This is absolutely the first thing that I do every single time because this is what's going to produce any dust. So I like to rough up the part that's going to stick to my natural nail, as well as I like to file down and make where the tip meets the cuticle a little thinner to make it not so bulky. And I will also try to fit them better to my nails. If it looks like the edge is going to be too square for it, I will try to round that out a little bit. If you don't have a nail drill, you don't absolutely have to do this step, but you do have to be careful that there are no air bubbles and that you have properly dehydrated your nail and the tip to make sure that it's going to stick, because otherwise I've had times where it has just completely popped off in 2 hours, 3 hours. To prep your nail, you're going to want to make sure that you remove any and all cuticles stuck to your nail. This is super important because if you don't, the nail will not stick. Then after you do that, I like to just rough up my nails very lightly with a buffing block using the rougher side of it. You don't need to file down your nails at all. You just want to make sure that your nails are not shiny anymore and that there is a rough surface for the gel to stick to. And then you're going to want to use the Dehydrator. This is one of my favorites. You guys know I actually use this one when I do other sets as well. And then the primer. And then here is where the extend gel comes on. Traditionally, you are supposed to paint your natural nail with this, and that would probably be a lot easier with the new way that they have it in a bottle, but I actually personally prefer to use a different base. I've found that the extend gel just doesn't stick to my natural nail 100% of the time, but I know that this base will. I just use any base, even some of the cheap ones from Wish work for me, and I don't have a problem with the extend gel sticking to it at all. This is also much easier and quicker for me, but as you guys could see that I've used a ton of that extend gel. I have bought 2 total kits, but I've only used that one. It has lasted me so many sets. After I cure that base on my nails, I like to do each nail one by one. So you want to grab a small amount of the extend gel. It takes a while to be able to eye how much you need. If you're just starting out, you're definitely gonna have times where you use too much or too little. And I make sure that I cover the entire filed area with it before I put the extra little bit at the cuticle area. And then here is what I do. So honestly, that little light that they use does not work for me at all. It is honestly so annoying to use. And this gel does not cure ultra quick. And so I like to just turn my light on and then I put the nail on by sliding it down to your cuticle and then pushing down. And then I just hold it while I do my best to cure it under the light. And then once I feel like it's cured enough, I'll stick my whole hand under. This process is super quick, and once you get it down, it honestly takes me sometimes only 20 minutes to do a set. What honestly takes the most time is just curing each nail one by one. So one of my problems with this kit was that I thought the tips were too short, and I still definitely do think that. However, I saw that they are making longer tips, so I will be super excited for those. Also, I have noticed that different styles are more flimsy than others. The stiletto ones that I had previously used are actually a lot more flimsy than these coffin ones, but I've never actually had one snap in half. I have had one just straight up bend, but they don't break like a traditional nail would. After you have put all of those on, you can totally just put a top coat on and go. I know some people don't like being able to see the natural nail underneath. I personally like to go back and clean up any excess gel that squeezed out. I feel like this is a little bit easier to do after the fact with a electric file rather than try to clean it up before you cure it, because then you kind of end up with air bubbles unless you are really good or you're doing it on someone else. But when you're doing it yourself, it can be a little difficult. Next, I just like to go and file the tips because there usually is that little spot where you can see where the nail popped off of wherever it was manufactured. And then I'm gonna be honest, from this point, this is a week later. I had stopped filming right after I put the nails on, and then I intended to decorate them right after, but I just didn't get down to it. So I am just cleaning up the shape a little bit because I did put some wear and tear on these nails, but as you can see, they are still pretty good a week after. If you are wanting to do anything on the nail aside from just a plain top coat, I would really recommend buffing the surface, because otherwise with some gels it can completely just pop off because the surface is too smooth. This won't make the nail any less clear, so don't worry about that. You'll see how I do it and how perfectly clear they are after the fact, but it is just really tough to get any gel to stick to this for any longer period of time than a day if you do not buff the surface. With the Apres nails, I really love how clear they are, so I usually try to stick to that in some way. Today I am going to be using this flower gel. This is slightly tinted gel with flower petals in it, and I just think it is so pretty and it's so simple, but it's so cute. And as you can see, it is going completely back to clear even though I have buffed the surface. With the flower gel, you do have to sort of gob it on just a little bit because there is a lot more gel than there is flower petals in it. I wanted to make sure that you could really see the petals. After putting the flower gel on, I am just going to put a regular non-wipe top coat over the top, and I also like to put the top coat on the back of the nails as well. I find that that helps make them extra clear and just sort of seals in everything a lot better. And that is all I have for this set. I am going to play my final thoughts when I did my previous review because I feel like a lot of those points still stand, and you guys will obviously have heard what's changed now. Overall, on like functionality with like being able to do these yourself, I think these are totally like a beginner approved sort of system. You can probably get a lot of uses out of these. Like, I would imagine just throwing it out there, like 20 to 30 uses out of this, and at like $90, that's a pretty good deal that would save you an insane amount of money at like the salon if that was like the alternative. Overall, like for me, that I don't think this is something that would be my go-to, just because these are a little bit short for me. They just are pretty short. And I also, something I feel like is a little weird is sort of the bottom. I feel like it makes you look like you have really wide fingers. I think it's a good system in general, And I think that's all I really have to say about it. Final thoughts. These are a little bit flimsy, like I could bend it if I wanted to. Honestly, this is probably one of the sets that I would really recommend for beginners, or in general, if you aren't wanting to go through the entire process of doing gel or acrylic or polygel every single time and you just want to be able to easily pop on some nails. These are absolutely perfect for you. They're super easy to use, and although the kit is like $100, you can get seriously so many uses out of them. Bare minimum, I would think 25 if you were using a lot of the product in it, and that makes it like $4 to $5 a set. It is so worth it. These nails are absolutely the easiest things to take off ever. You really just soak them in acetone and they come off super easily, which is why I always use them, because I do test out so many different kits. Sometimes after I take a set off, in the meantime, I do want to have some sort of nails on because otherwise I feel like a toddler, and so I will take the 20 minutes and pop these on, and it really makes it easy so that when I do want to go and test a new set, it takes me, I don't know, 20 minutes to take these off. And lastly, I think the only sort of cons with these nails are that they only last about 2 weeks, but they do last a solid 2 weeks. After that, you might get some peeling, and also you cannot do a fill on these. You would have to get a new set every single time unless you decided you wanted to file them down sort of and do a rebalance with builder gel. Also, it is kind of hard to do designs that have a lot of encapsulation because you can't really put any glitter or anything opaque where the tip meets the natural nail, otherwise it will not cure underneath. So I really hope that you guys like this more in-depth tutorial and review. Let me know if you guys want me to maybe even revisit some of the previous sets that I used, but that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will hopefully see you next time. Bye!